Hey guys, welcome to another episode of ProSeller Talk. My guest tonight is Nathan Hirsch. Nathan is going to talk tonight about how to hire and scale your e-commerce business. Nathan, how are you doing tonight? Why don't you come on in and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, John. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yeah, so I've been in e-commerce for 7 years. I actually started my first company when I was in college. With $20, I started buying and selling textbooks. Textbooks led me to Amazon because you don't get very far selling books without learning about Amazon. And back when I was 20 years old, I really fell in love with Amazon, started to find different vendors, different products to buy, started to really scale my company. This was back when Amazon was switching from books to selling other products, and there were only 3 or 4 people on different listings. From there, I was hiring my first employees before I was legally able to drink. I was running a multi-million-dollar business while I was in college. When I graduated, I had that option of pursuing a full-time job or pursuing my Amazon business, which I obviously decided to go the Amazon route. I moved to Orlando, Florida, opened up an office, hired lots of different employees, learned about Odesk, Upwork, all that, started hiring remote workers, both US and non-US, really fell in love with it, made a lot of good decisions, bad decisions, hiring-wise, and learned a lot. And then I opened a company, FreeeUp.com, which is essentially what I wish I had back when I was first starting my company to help grow and scale my business and find me the workers that I need without wasting time. So real quick about FreeeUp, we're the hands-on way to hire remote workers, both US and non-US, for e-commerce companies from $5 to $50 an hour. On the front end, we do all the interviewing for you. We get hundreds of applicants every week. We filter through them, and then we present the workers that we decide to hire to our clients on a first-come, first-served basis for them to hire. And on the back end, we're very hands-on to make sure you have a good experience with our workers, and we cover you if any workers decide to quit. We cover all retraining costs. So that's what FreeeUp is, and we're just about to hit year 1. We have over 350 clients, and we've been growing at a pretty rapid pace, but it's been an overall great experience the past 7 years in the e-commerce industry. I can take it from here with the PowerPoint.
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan, take it.
Can you see my screen, John?
I can.
Awesome. So yeah, I kind of talked about me, and this presentation is how to hire and scale your e-commerce business with remote workers. And you have to remember that I deal with clients all day, from companies that do $180 million in sales a year to people who own brick and mortar stores and are trying to get online for the first time. And you're very limited by what you can do if you don't have a good workforce, whether it's employees or independent contractors or remote workers. You really can't scale, and John and I were talking about this before we got on, without some kind of help. There's no successful business owners in the world that do it by themselves without a team around them. And really building that team is the best way to take it to the next level, and it can separate the good businesses from the bad one, the success from the failures. So there's a lot of benefits, in my opinion, to hiring remote workers opposed to in-house workers. Now, obviously, if you have a warehouse that you're trying to pack and ship products, remote working isn't an option for every position. But when you can hire remote workers, there are a lot of benefits. One of the big benefits is growth and flexibility. So on the flexibility side, you don't necessarily have to hire remote workers for 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. A lot of time you can find part-time workers that have other clients that can help you out and really grow with you, whether it's starting 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, and scaling up. It's a great way for new companies to really get the workers they need without having to commit to them. In addition, most remote workers, although not all of them, are independent contractors, so you save the payroll hassles and the costs of doing that. There's also the overhead money that you save not having to have an office. So there's a lot of benefits in that regard, and it's easier to scale. In terms of profits, I've personally found that I make more money using remote workers than I do employees, just because I can kind of limit their hours. I can use them when I want them. I can have them more on call. I can use them on set schedules. And you also don't have to deal with the people showing up on time, driving to work, stuff like that. And e-commerce, it's really the best industry, in my opinion, to hire remote workers, because there are so many experts out there, so many people that know e-commerce that have run their own business before, but they're not necessarily in your town or in your state. and you get access to all these people in the US, but all around the world. And a lot of times when people think remote workers or outsourcing, they're thinking on the lower end, where it's the data entry workers, the $3, $5, $8 an hour workers. But you also got to remember there's those experts out there that can help you run your social media or your Google PPC or Amazon SEO and optimization. So there's a whole other side of it, and you get access to all these experts from around the world. And that's one way that I've really scaled not only my business, but the business of my clients. And yeah, I mean, it just makes sense at the end of the day, having people that can be more flexible, that can get you the skills you want, that aren't necessarily in the same office as you are. You obviously know they can work anywhere at any time. And the biggest thing for me, since e-commerce is 24/7, as you grow and as you become profitable, you realize that you might not want to work weekends or stay up at night or work those 70, 80 hours a week that are required. Or you need people to monitor your company when you're not there. So I have people in the Philippines that monitor both my businesses while I'm sleeping, when I'm away. Just hiring workers in general allows you to take time off, and vacation is a big part of being an entrepreneur. Time to regroup and rest up so you can take their business to the next level is incredibly important. And back in the day when I was first hiring, I kind of fell into the trap of, why pay people? It's just money out of my pocket. I can do everything. I really like what I'm doing. So 60 hours a week didn't really matter. But what I've learned is you really need to hire correctly, and you really have to put a team around you if you ever want to take it to the next level. And you can't work the next 40 years working 7 days a week, 60 hours a week. It's just not possible and not sustainable, and you also won't get the most out of your business. You'll burn down. So having remote workers that can fill in, give you time off, work in different time zones when you're not there is a huge benefit, especially in e-commerce. And especially towards the end of the year in the fourth quarter, having all these workers available, maybe people you've met throughout the year, that maybe you've given part-time work to, being able to pull those people in and help you when you need it the most has been very essential for me, just surviving busy season in general. We already kind of talked about cost cutting, eliminating office rental and transportation fees and stuff like that, big tax advantages as well. And then you also know that if you do go the outsourcing route, where you're hiring non-US workers, there's a lot of money that you can save that way. Whereas a US Amazon expert might be in the $30 to $50 an hour range. If you decide to go international, it might be in the $10 to $25 an hour range. And there's pros and cons to both of those as well. But it definitely gives you a chance, if you're a startup, to save money, or if you have a task that is more ongoing or more of a bigger project, to save money in that way. And the other cool thing is that I've just met so many people from around the world that have skill sets that I would never be able to teach myself, that would be incredibly hard for me to find here. I mean, I have some Filipino workers that do amazing things with PPC ads and SEO. They're incredibly affordable. They can work random hours. They want to work. They need the hours to provide for their family. They're workaholics. And it's really been essential to help me and my clients. And FreeeUp right now has over 130 workers available to our clients. About 40% of them are from the Philippines, 40% are US, and the other 20% are scattered throughout. So some of it is client preference, some of it is necessity and availability, but there's so many options out there that you get when you don't just limit yourself to the town that you're in or within driving distance of your office. So the biggest thing is where to get started, what to look for, and this is where a lot of my clients make the mistake. Either they don't have the time to create a good process, or they don't have the time to do the interviews correctly, or the interviews get rushed, or they just don't even know what they're looking for. I mean, especially if you're recruiting for a skill that you don't actually know, how are you going to decide if someone is better than one candidate at SEO? It's very hard to do. So you really want to take the skill set out of the equation. The skill set comes secondary. The first thing you want to identify is can you work with this person, and are they going to care about your company? So that's the first step. So what I personally look for, and one of the reasons that clients I feel really like my workers, is I want people who are enthusiastic about working and want to learn and want to improve. I stay away from workers that are just about the money, that are trying to increase their rates, that are trying to just bill lots of hours. When I ask them what's important to them, if they're like, hey, I need to make X amount of money per week, X amount of money per month, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear more of I care about Amazon. I love building Amazon stores. Having a successful PPC campaign really helps me sleep at night, stuff like that. So I want workers that actually care about my business, that treat my business like it's theirs. And that's what's cool about my internal team, because I have 15 assistants that work with me. I can tell they really care about the company. They wake up every morning, they eat, sleep, and breathe FreeeUp. And it really helps create a great working atmosphere and culture, which we'll talk about in a little while. But those are the people that I target. I don't want people that just wake up every day, punch in, punch out, do what they're told, and don't bring anything to the table. Communication is huge. When you're dealing with workers, especially if they're not in the US, but also just if they're not in the same office as you, communication is everything. So making sure that they speak your language is step one. Workers don't get a foot into my interview process if they don't speak perfect English. I don't speak any other languages, so my workers have to speak my language in order to work for my company. And if they speak other languages, great. The other side of communication is just basic. I call it common sense, but it's not really common sense. I have 15 pages of communication guidelines I make my workers read and memorize before I hire them. And then I make them take a test on those and spit it back to me, because I don't want to have to chase down my workers. I need my workers to be able to, they don't need to be on call. And there's a difference between being available 24/7. I understand that my workers need to sleep, but within a reasonable amount of time, I expect them to respond to text, Viber, WhatsApp, email, whatever it is. However I'm trying to contact them, or my assistants are trying to contact them, I need to be able to get a hold of them. And that goes for both my companies. I don't want workers that I need to chase down or wait a week for them to show up, even if they don't have a scheduled shift. Other communication, like telling me what they're doing and keeping me updated and getting approval before they start working. Some of my clients have come to me because in the past their workers have taken a project and just ran up billable hours on them. Whereas in my system, my workers meet with you, they work 1 to 2 hours creating this game plan with hourly estimates, at least if you hire my experts, and then they get these estimates approved. And if you tell them, hey, 20 hours, or they say 20 hours, they're not going to work a minute over 20 hours without your approval. And we understand that estimates are not set in stone and that people go over and that things come up, especially in e-commerce, especially in Amazon. But at the same time, there has to be that level of communication. So making sure the people that you hire, that you can communicate effectively and that they can follow basic policies to keep you informed. You still need to have control over your business. And the third thing, and this is what's important to me, I try to hire people that have the skills that I don't have or that I don't have the time to learn. So my strength personally is sales. I'm good at talking with clients. I have a customer service background, so I know how to make clients happy, how to fix problems, stuff like that. So I surround myself with great writers because I don't consider writing my strength. So I surround myself with website designers, with things that I don't do. And building the strongest teams are the people that complement each other. You don't want a team of 5 of you that do the exact same skills of you. It'll be really hard to run your business. So the best teams and my internal team is just made up of so many different people, so many different skill sets, from the customer care side to the accounting, to the HR, to the SEO, to the link building, all those different things combined to make this really strong team. I'm always looking for long-term workers, even if I'm not looking for long-term workers. You don't want someone who's one and done, who's going to disappear and never talk to you again. Even if you have a one-time project, you never know when you're going to have a project that is going to come up in the future, and you want to be able to keep their name down and be able to reach out to them, assuming that you have a good experience. So find out what their long-term plan is. Are they trying to get out of the industry? Are they just making money so they can save up to do something else? A lot of my clients do hire long-term positions, and we want to know that you're not going to quit after 2 weeks, after a month, stuff like that, especially if a higher paying job comes around. And that kind of circles back to not caring about money. If my worker's rate is $10 an hour, I want to know that if someone comes around and offers him 11, that he's not going to bounce at the first opportunity of doing that. So and that's the toughest thing to do when you're interviewing or talking to workers, but you really want to dive deep down and make sure that they're going to be making a long-term commitment to your company. And a lot of that goes back to caring. And then there's the culture side of it, which is really your part of creating a place where workers want to stay long-term. So you want to build the company of your culture. My culture, for example, is a place where feedback and ideas are welcome, where we take different ideas and turn them into processes and quickly create and build and continue to build on and on and on. And we want that open atmosphere where no one's afraid to speak up. And that doesn't work for all cultures, especially corporate companies. And you're more than welcome to have your own culture. But whatever your culture is, make sure that you're hiring people that fit that culture. Make sure that during the interview process, you tell them how you work, what you expect, what you don't like, what the other people on your team do, what your meetings are like, and make sure you hire people that really fit in there and that aren't going to be the outsiders that do things a completely different way. I always try to have workers, and I try to make myself as approachable and easy to communicate with as possible. And it really goes both ways. And you can kind of see that in the interview process, whether there's long pauses, whether there's that nice flow going back and forth, whether people show up on time, different things that I try to stay away from anyone that has a red flag when it comes to communication, because usually communication doesn't get better over time. It only gets worse. And all these things, and you don't notice it at the time. And I made these mistakes when I was first starting the company, my first Amazon store. I cared about money. I was very stern business face. Like, let's not be personable at all. What's the point of having a culture? It's business, business, business all the time. And my business partner, Connor Gillivan, you can check him out at connorgillivan.com. He really turned me on to that culture thing. And the biggest thing, even if you're just a business minded and you really do only care about the bottom line, turnover is expensive. Turnover is the most expensive thing in business. So if you want to avoid turnover, the best thing you can do, and this also just creates a more fun working atmosphere in my opinion, but to avoid turnover, creating that culture, creating that strong communication system, creating a place where workers actually want to work needs to be done before you actually start hiring. Because or else you're just going to spend so much time hiring and replacing people and spending money, and no one really wants to do that. And a lot of businesses fail that way because every time they hire someone to do customer service to free up their time, that person quits, and then they have to spend the next month training a new person because they don't make the environment easy to work with a strong culture, or it's just not clear what the culture is, and everyone has a different opinion of what it is. So some things to keep in mind. So we kind of talked about enthusiasm, but also just willing to learn about your business. But when I do decide to hire someone, I take them and I teach them about my business before they even start day one. It doesn't matter what they're doing, if it's bookkeeping, customer care, they need a big overview of my business. They need to meet different people on the team that'll train them what they do, because I need them to know who to go to for every different thing. They can't go to me for everything. And then I try to teach them about my business goals and keep them involved. For example, FreeeUp's goal is obviously to bill lots of hours. We want to do that. We want to make our clients happy, but we also want to know that we're growing. So everyone on my team knows what the goals are, what we're trying to do, and it's not just number goals, but also projects we're working on. Right now, we are building a new software. Everyone on my team knows what the software is. People had input on that, and they know when we're trying to do it, what the dates are. So even if they have nothing to do with building the software, they still feel like it's a business goal that they're trying to achieve. And this kind of circles back to turnover, because everything circles back to turnover. People want to stay with your company if they see that you're growing, that you're sharing, that they're a part of it. That's the environment that workers stay the longest. So making sure that they learn about your company before they even start, and that you're constantly updating them on goals and things that you're building and working on. If you're launching a new product, they should know about it. The group new hire orientation thing was really turned on to me by my assistant, Chris Carpenter. And this is something that we do at FreeeUp every Friday morning at 11 a.m. We just have new hire orientation. Everyone new that was hired in the week, and obviously it's a little different for me because I'm hiring workers every week, or maybe you do it every month. But you should have some kind of new hire orientation with PowerPoints, with how you do things, the do's and don'ts of your company. Don't assume anything. These workers, especially if you're hiring independent contractors, they've worked for lots of other clients before. And every client is a different business model, a different way of doing business, different software they use. So don't assume that just because someone is a hard worker or has a 99% feedback on Upwork, then they're going to read your mind and know exactly how you want things done. So even if your orientation is short, 15, 20 minutes, have something for them so that they know what the expectations are. I kind of mentioned this before, just familiarizing yourself with other workers in the company. The first thing that my workers do is they just meet everyone. me, my bookkeeper, me, my HR person. This is who you go to for this. This is who you go to for this. Even if it's not other remote workers, if it's just you and your business partner, be like, hey, this is what he does. This is what I do. Make sure you're going to the right person, and even get to know them a little bit. Hey, what are your hobbies? Stuff like that. All of that goes a long way into just retaining workers and performance in general, because although turnover is expensive, poor performance would be number two. And the people that care about the company and care about the workers that they're working with, those are the workers that are going to push the hardest and try to get the most done for you. And this kind of transitions into what you should be looking to hire. You really want to identify what your business's weakest links are and hire workers to cover them. That's more on the expert side. So if you don't do a good job recruiting for or doing social media, hire a social media expert. But also on the lower end side, you really want to make a list and prioritize things that you do on a day-to-day basis that you shouldn't be doing, or really, in my mind, that don't have to do with sales or expansion. If you're the business owner of the company, the only thing that you should be focused on is sales and expansion. Everything else, which is more day-to-day stuff, needs to be handled by an employee, a remote worker, an independent contractor, a vendor, something along those lines. Because if you're spending all day answering customer emails or filling out spreadsheets or whatever it is, you're not getting the most out of your time, and you need to value your time more than you value anyone in the world. So remote workers really allow you to value your time and focus on the expansion and the sales side that you would not otherwise be able to do. So yeah, building a system of management, and it obviously starts with worker number one. You want to hire that one person, teach them the show. And just like in a corporate world where you're moving people up, you want to have some kind of scale where you're moving people up in the system. Okay, they master customer care. Let's not keep them in customer care forever. Let's move them to the project manager of customer care. And as you grow and emails grow up or get bigger and bigger, or more and more, you want to insert people underneath them. So now you have someone who can train these workers and monitor them and have those project managers. And it could be anything from product sourcing, where you have a team leader and people underneath them. And you don't want to give anyone just promote them just to promote them. You want to give them the opportunity to prove themselves. And that's also a great way to get great performance. If you're like, hey, listen, there's one open spot for project manager. We've been talking about this internally. We think it's going to happen. We're going to give it to the best person. And you have 3 workers. They're going to all be competing for that job. So that's something that we do a lot. Competition is good. Healthy competition is good. It's the same thing if you follow sports. That you get the most out of your team if there's competition for different positions, and not just that one person who plays the position no matter what, who has the job no matter what, and there's no one pushing him to do better. The other thing is just trust, and that's different for all people. I know there's a lot of concern in the Amazon industry about giving people access to their accounts, and trust is something that needs to be earned. And I kind of reflected on those red flags of communication. For me, it's my worker's job to build trust with me. That means showing up on time, not doing anything risky, asking the proper questions, stuff like that, and really earning my trust over time. And I have a lot of really great, trusted, and valuable assistants, and that's kind of where FreeeUp comes in, because we want to be able to find a way for our clients to get these reliable workers without having to interview and recruit them themselves. So we kind of talked about this too, where building low priority tasks are always handled by remote workers. And you don't want to just pass it off and push it off and let them do it without checking in, especially at the beginning, especially if you're doing hiring for the first time. But really, all low priority tasks need to be handled by remote workers. Even in my Amazon store, my sales tax report is handled by a remote worker, sent to me to proofread, sent to my bookkeeper. So I don't have to go through all the numbers and all that different stuff. So just a small example of, even if something's not a full-time job, if it's a once a week thing, a once a month thing, a once a year thing, get a remote worker to do it. Be like, hey, I'm every first of the month, these are your tasks, send me the report. It's gonna free up your time and make your life easier. And you're not gonna be looking over your shoulder and be like, oh my God, I can't believe it's the first of the month again. I have to do all this, but I have all these meetings today. Let these people really free up your time. Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind is what is the end goal? And there's really two sides of it. The expansion side, so you want to free up your time so you can expand using the remote workers, but also making it so your business can run without you checking every little thing, where you're not in every single order, every single email, talking to every single vendor all the time. You have to have that as your end goal. I know it seems tough, especially if you're used to doing everything yourself, but it really will get better. And you'd be surprised that if you hire the right people, a lot of times they can just do things better than you. If you hire someone with years of experience talking to vendors, maybe they're able to get you a discount that you're not able to do. Maybe they're able to run, maybe an Amazon expert's able to run a PPC campaign in a different way to get you a different result. So while you know your business better than everyone else, don't be afraid to let someone come in and really shake it and do a little trial and error and see what sticks, because those are the best ways to expand your business. I mean, both my businesses would be nothing without other people. I would still be that $1 million a year Amazon company. And yeah, it's great that I was able to build it that big, but I would never be able to send it to the next level without the ideas, the feedbacks, the opinions, and just the work and the work ethic of my remote workers. I mean, there's just more there's just more hours in a week than I can work. Last week, my internal assistants worked 700 hours. There's no way that I can work 700 hours in a week. So you really need to rely on these workers to really help your business and just trust them to take it to the next level. And a lot of that goes into the hiring side and making sure you have a good system for it, focusing on the culture, and creating a way for your workers to grow within your company. So yeah, your time should be spaced on growing and making business connections. We kind of already talked about that. Just some ideas and what I've been able to do by having these remote workers who handle the day-to-day tasks, I've been able to promote my business more. So adding in that marketing side, interviews, podcasts, promotional testimonies, stuff like that, and increasing your web presence overall. Those are kind of the benefits of having a strong team. And it also allows you to build on different software. I have a lot of workers that have brought ideas to the table that I haven't heard about or I haven't used before, kind of integrating software in there. Workers that have used software with other clients and using different time clock or payment softwares, whether you're using Upwork or FreeeUp to track your time, which you're able to do a little bit better on the remote side because there's just so many different options out there. And that'll really give you a better judge of your overall payroll, which kind of helps grow your business. And freeing up your time also allows you to build your own software, which is essential for any business. You don't always want to be relying on other vendors. So the money that you save on remote workers, the money that you gain by expanding on remote workers, you're able to reinvest in your business, to use different software or to do different marketing, different promotions, stuff like that. This is just some overall business tips that I threw in here. Especially if you're new, don't buy expensive and loaded software right away. I'm a big fan of building my own software, but I kind of make shift with what I can until I can get to the next level of what I'm trying to achieve. So in the meantime, when I was trying to build my awesome FreeeUp software, I was using the cheapest time clock out there to kind of prove my business model before I just invested a lot of money into it. And just saving money at the beginning. I'm a big fan of low overhead and being as frugal as possible. Hiring remote workers is just one side of that, but you also have a lot of ways that you can communicate with remote workers for free. I have over 150 remote workers at FreeeUp, and we still use Skype, Gmail, WhatsApp, Viber, which are all free apps. So don't think that just because you start hiring all these people that you need to buy all this expensive software to manage them. There are very cheap time clock softwares, or if you use FreeeUp or you use Upwork, they have their own software there, and different communication software that you can use.
Hey, Nathan, I think we lost your sound.
All right. branch, like I've had bad experiences with India or whatever it is, I have plenty of very good workers from India that I would put up against any Filipino, any US worker. So although it might be a little harder and a lot of it has to do with communication, there are plenty of countries out there that have great workers that you just need to find. And that's really the decision that you need to make, is whether you use the sites like freelancer.com and upwork.com to go out and find different workers and interview them and get all these applications, or if you use more of an agency like FreeeUp to save you time at the beginning.
And did you take your slides down, because I don't see them anymore?
Since when? Did that just start?
Yeah, I just went away. I see you now. I don't see the slides.
Is that better?
Yep, there you go.
All right, cool. Yeah, and I mean, as your business grows, you really have to create that 24/7 workforce. Even my biggest clients, one of my biggest clients is a step 2 company. They do a lot of money in sales every year. And they have my workers working over the weekends. In the morning, by the time they wake up, they have reports on their desk that my workers ran when they weren't there. And I know a lot of you aren't at that point yet, but you really have to start to see, especially during busy season or as you get busier, you're going to get emails at night. You're going to get orders at night. Different problems are going to happen when you're not there, when you're sleeping. So really creating as close to a 24-hour workforce as possible is a step after you started to become profitable. You have hired those workers. You put them into place. The next step is creating that 24-hour workforce. This is just some tips that I learned setting up that referral program to help promote your business in some way, whether it's your own website. I always like feedback, and this goes both on the client side and on the worker side. If I'm talking to workers and I'm putting through new hire orientation, I always want to know, what could I do better? What part wasn't clear? Is there anything that I could do to make this hiring process better on the worker side? And you obviously want to take everything. You don't want to just take everything they say and implement it. But if you're hiring for the first time, get feedback. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, how do you think this interview went? Like, was it confusing? Do you understand my company? Just getting things to help you improve your processes over time, even if you hire or don't hire that person. And the same thing's on the client's end. If you're dealing with different vendors, building different relationship, just always get feedback. It's no different on the hiring side than on the selling side. Sure. So look for different business owners that have hired VAs and talk to them about their experiences doing it. Talked about VAs they've hired. Maybe they have VAs that are right for you. That's a good place to start. Also talk to them about their good experience and their bad experience. I've had clients that have had some very bad experiences with hiring VAs, from information stolen to workers quitting or with no notice and not showing up. But I've also had clients in my own personal really great experiences doing it. And this kind of goes for any business and service. Before you jump in and go for the hiring side, or before you start working with a new vendor, you always want to ask around about the different pros and cons. Don't take John's word for it or my word for it, or other people in the industry. Ask people who have hired maybe for the first time in the past few months, and get different feedback before you necessarily jump into it. Some other stuff, just keeping focus on your niche as you grow. Focusing your efforts on growing your business, not on smaller operations. If you take anything away from this presentation, please let it be that. You really need to be spending 99% of your time in some type of sales, marketing, expanding setting. And the best way to do it, in my opinion, is with remote workers. And try not to get bogged down with different minor tasks that is slowing you down or slowing your business down and affecting growth. Your goal is to find reliable, hardworking virtual assistants, whether they're US or non-US, experts or lower level people. Plug them into your company and let it help you both on the day-to-day side and the expansion side. And yeah, John, that's my presentation. I'm happy to open up to any questions that people have. I can't hear you.
All right, let me check and see if we have any questions in the chat. Anybody have any questions to ask Nathan about his presentation and what he just went over? Let me take a look. If you guys have any questions at all, now's the time to post them in the chat. Like I said before, Nathan, I think YouTube's still messing with webinar as far as the chat. I can post there, but I don't know if anybody else has been able to figure out that YouTube glitch yet. That I've seen that you in your presentation, we do a lot of, and not necessarily just with online Amazon stuff, but just in our warehouse in general. I mean, you do have to treat your workers like family and make them feel important, because if you're not making them feel important and part of your company, we've seen a lot of turnover from that. You know, from people that don't get the concept. There's a vision that we have for our business, and if they don't have your vision, then it's never going to work for you. So you got to really kind of go through the process of seeing who will work for your company and who won't work for your company by, you know, through the interview process and other things. We bring them in a warehouse, walk them around, meet people, and you kind of get a feel if someone's going to actually be a fit for your company or not. So I think those things, I mean, there's no way that we could do what we do in our business, I mean, I've got multiple income streams like you, and there's no way that I ever could have done that without Upworks and a lot of different things that because of outsourcing and giving up the workload to somebody else. Because a lot of people think that when you give up that workload, but once you do and you free up yourself to do, I love the part where you said to free up yourself to do what you're supposed to do is grow your business and make money. That's an awesome statement, because most people don't get that part. Most people just want to keep it to themselves and don't think that anybody else can do the business as well as they can. Well, the fact of the matter is that, you know, I don't mean this in a bad way, but they actually could do it better than you. And you don't know that until you outsource and find out what's out there and who has qualifications to be able to help your business. Do you agree with that?
I agree 100%. That's one of the, if I could go back in time to the first year that I was running the company, that would be the first thing that I changed, because I definitely went too long without me. I think my first busy season actually opened my eyes, because I just got hammered with work and I had no one to turn to. And then that following January, I was like, all right, now it's time to build the team. Excuse me, if I want to take this business to the next level, that's the only option. And it was definitely the best decision. And I also have a lot of clients who are very nervous to do that. And either they're scared of something going wrong, or they're in that mentality that only I can do it. I had a client when I first started who was answering every single email that they got all the time. And they hired a worker, and then every time the worker tried to do something, like, all right, no, I got it. And we eventually had to hold their hand and be like, all right, this worker has 6 years of customer service experience. Like, at least give them a chance, or maybe start with baby steps. Let them type up an email and you check it before it goes out. But there has to be a way to let go of that grasp that it's your business and you're the only person that can do it.
Yeah, and a good friend of mine, Jim Corcoran, told me that basically if you're working in your business, you're not growing your business.
100%.
You got to give up that. And once I got that concept down, that's when I started to really grow and do the things that I've been able to do, is because it's very difficult to give up control. But once you start to give up that control and realize that by giving up that control, it frees you up to do other things, that's when you start to not only look at Amazon, but you look at other avenues, and you start to have different streams of income so that you can support your family. If Amazon goes out or someone else goes out, you don't have to rely on that one thing.
I just want to answer this question that was posted about the employee temp agency. So we are not an employee temp agency. All our workers are independent contractors. So we provide independent contractors from $5 to $50 an hour from all over the world. You can hire them project-based, long-term. We are essentially the middle person to provide independent contractors that we've already vetted. So the workers you hired from us, you pay FreeeUp. You're not paying the workers directly, but you're paying them as independent contractors.
And explain to them a little bit about what that service entails too, as far as what you offer for that. I mean, because we went over this before we got on the air about the protection that they have if one quits on you and things like that. I think that's important to let them know too.
Definitely. So first of all, to become a client with us is very easy. You go to FreeeUp.com. It's 3 things. It's a questionnaire, so we have your contact information, an e-signature saying you're not going to try to steal our workers, and you'll actually pay for the work, and a credit card on file. There's no upfront fees, no monthly fees. We bill every Thursday for any work that you did the week before. So that's getting set up as a client. Once you are a client, you can request a worker at any time. It's right in your FreeeUp account. You request a worker. Hey, I need an Amazon expert. I need someone for customer care. It provides the questions in the worker request form, give us the information we need to find the perfect worker for you. We're not a recruitment agency. It's not like you come to us and tell us what you need and we go on Upwork and find it. We already have these people on our team 99% of the time, depending on demand. So you request a worker, we're on the backside, we're getting hundreds of applicants every week. Our interview process is very strict. We take less than 1% of the people that apply. And we also have those 15 pages of communication guidelines that I think I mentioned before that our workers have to pass a test on to show that they're following FreeeUp policies on communication. So from there, we make the workers available to you. You request a worker, we'll introduce you to the one that's the best fit. You're welcome. A lot of clients come to us because they don't want to interview workers, just like our workers don't want to spend all day doing interviews. But if you want to, you're welcome to meet our worker for 10 to 15 minutes or so, decide to hire them or not. If you decide to hire them, you're working directly with the worker. My biggest thing that I hated with agencies back in the day was you'd hire one person and someone else would be doing the work. With us, that worker is doing the work. We don't switch workers on you, and you're dealing directly with them. Me and my team of 15 assistants, we're there to help you in any way we can. If you have any issues, any miscommunication, again, my workers are trained on communication, so 99% of the time that doesn't happen, but we are there to protect you or to be hands-on. And on the very back end, what's cool about us is if you hire one of our workers, you're never going to have to pay for training twice. If you hire one of our workers and for some reason, God forbid, they quit, again, doesn't usually happen, but it is real life, people quit jobs. We cover all retraining costs. We get you a new worker right away. We pay for the training, and you get to keep moving forward. And we make sure that you're never going to find yourself in the middle of a project without a worker, in the middle of busy season, without a worker. And that's how we protect our clients in the back end. All right, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask. If I didn't answer the temp agency question good enough, feel free to re-ask the question or let me know how I can clarify it.
Some of them are able to work the chat, so that's kind of good in a way. Yeah, and like your service, I like the fact that you were talking about, like I said before, you went on the air about if one of them decides to quit on you, that you just replace them and with another worker. Go into that a little bit to let them know how they're also protected in that way.
On the if our workers quit side?
Yeah, if the one of them decides that they don't want to do it anymore, you have it so that they're protected.
Yeah, so we're essentially going to pay the retraining costs. We are going, if you spent 15 hours training someone to answer customer care the way that you train them, the next 15 hours with the new worker are on us. We're going to get you a worker with the same rate or cheaper, with the same skill set or cheaper. We're going to make sure you're happy with the new worker. We're going to talk to you about what you liked or what you didn't like with the new worker, and we're fast. I mean, we have clients that sign up, request a worker, and within a few minutes they have them ready to go. It obviously depends on the time of the day and who's online and who's not. But we're very quick. And we've had situations where a worker, and this is another cool thing that's about us, workers get sick, workers take vacations, time off, stuff like that. We have workers there to fill in for you if needed. A lot of our clients, they can wait if someone can't work for a day. Other people are in the middle of a project, or maybe they have a boss that they're reporting to or another client they're reporting to that needs something done right away. And we have so many different resources that we'll get someone to fill in for you. So with FreeeUp, you're protected one way or another. You're never going to find yourself without the manpower or the skill set that you need to grow or handle the day-to-day operations of your company. And again, I'm basing this on what I wish I had when I was first starting my company, because I had so many situations where my customer care person didn't show up for work. So I had to drop what I'm doing. I had to go and answer emails or pull someone from a different team and put them in there and they weren't comfortable. With FreeeUp, that just doesn't happen. Our workers are reliable 99% of the time. And if anything goes wrong, we're there to protect you. Even if I'm sleeping, if you add freeup.com Skype, the Skype account, one of my assistants is manning that Skype account, and they're well trained to help you too. So we're going to make sure that you're protected whenever something comes up, because we all know in e-commerce something always comes up.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, you know, and Nathan will even tell you this. You can go about this yourself and try to find the VAs yourself, and I've done it and gone through the process, and I can tell you it's tedious, and it's trial and error when you try to get some of these that, even if they speak the right language, it's just trial and error. You have to go through and spend the time and figure out which one's going to work for your company and which one that is going to make sense for your company. Where what Nathan has done is he's already pre-screened these applicants, and he has them already in his company. So he saves you. Yeah, you know, he does charge a fee for them, but he's saving you a lot of time to be able to concentrate on other things and be able to continue to build your businesses. So this is something that interesting concept, as far as you not having to spend time going out looking for it, for one, and two, not knowing if they're legitimate or if they're going to work for you the right way. I mean, Nathan has processes in place that actually track his workers, and he knows when they're working, when they're not working. So it's kind of a unique situation for someone that I wish years ago was out there, that, you know, wasn't out there. You had to do it the old school way. Now you've got a service that actually will you can go to and say, hey, listen, I need a VA in this area, maybe to build a website, or maybe to advertising for you or something like that. And you can go to Nathan at FreeeUp.com, and he has those people in place, and just a phone call to talk to him. It doesn't hurt to talk and find out and see if it's something that's right for you. And if it is, and you're in that position to be able to do that, then it may be just what you're looking for to be able to take your business to the next level.
Yeah, and to clarify a few things you said, I mentioned there's no monthly fees. If I tell you a worker is $10 an hour, you're paying $10 an hour. Our workers pay us commission to find them work. In addition to that, if you go on our website, FreeeUp.com, or you can email me at Nathan@FreeeUp.com, you can set up a meeting with me right on their website. My calendar's there. Feel free to book a time, free consultation, no charge. And I'll talk to you about your business, figure out the best way. Even if you're unsure, or if you're months away from hiring a virtual assistant, I'm happy to talk with you and figure out the best strategy and what direction to go. And to kind of talk about what you talked about before, I do have a lot of clients that use a combination of assistants that they've hired and my assistants as well. What's cool is you become a client of mine, and I'm kind of there if you need me. You're welcome to meet my workers. You're welcome to recruit on your own. You're not restricted in any way. And if you find those $1, $2 an hour amazing workers, great. Keep them around. But one just helpful hint is to not lowball these workers, because if you find someone for $10 an hour and you're like, hey, I'll offer you 6, and they really want 10, maybe they'll take the job because they don't have another opportunity right this second. But the second someone offers them 10, they're out the door. And we kind of mentioned about turnover. So I've had a lot of clients that are like, hey, I found a worker $2 cheaper than what you're offering. And I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you're the client. I want what's best for your company. Hire them. But I also have a lot of clients who do that, and then a week later they're back on the phone with me hiring someone more reliable. So just keep in mind that if someone's asking for a rate, and it's the same thing if you're hiring an employee for $50,000 a year and you're offering them 45, just keep in mind, in the back of their mind, they know that they're not getting the value that they want, and they're going to be looking for other jobs just like you would if you were hiring. So just some tips from doing that over and over again.
Any other questions for Nathan about his service and what he offers? This is a great time to ask him those questions so you can get them answered. Again, not sure, Nathan, if the chat, I mean, there are some that are using it, but who knows how many are able to use it. So if we don't have any more questions for Nathan, it's, you know, I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. Nathan's probably tired and wants to either get something to eat. I'm not sure where he's out of, but I'm going to let you go here. And this will be up on replay, and Nathan's link is up there, FreeeUp.com. I will make sure that I put that up with the replay also and get this information to you guys. So if you are interested, you can get in contact with Nathan, and he can go over what was talked about on this webinar in more detail with you and see if what he has is a fit for you and it'll work for your business. We do know that you have other things you can do on a Wednesday night. You know, you can watch the Olympics. There's a lot of things you could be doing right now. So we do appreciate you coming on here and listening to Nathan talk about his business and what he can offer and how he's built this tremendous network of followers, a network of people that He's got, I think you said a crew of 150. Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're right around the 150 mark right now.
150 people that at any given time can come in and probably meet your needs of what you're looking for a VA. So again, guys, I appreciate you coming on here. I'm going to let Nathan have the last word here, and then we're going to call it a night.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, John. I'm pretty easy to contact either through my website, my email address. You can add me on Skype. You can add the FreeeUp Skype. I'm on WhatsApp, Viber. So whatever's the easiest way to contact me, go for it if you're interested. And feel free to tell people about FreeeUp.com if you know that they're interested in virtual assistants.
All right, Nathan. It was a real pleasure. You have a good night.
You too. Bye.